All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our August 19th, 2021 TNRD Public Information meeting to discuss the current update with regards to the wildfires happening within the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. I first, as the TNRD, would like to acknowledge that we connect with many First Nations communities across our vast and beautiful district. And today we are located on the Kamloops to Secwepemc territory. The TNRD really appreciates the partnership that we have and respect the territory and land on which we gather here today. My name is Priscilla Kazarian. I'm the current acting information officer for the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. Today we have some presenters here from BC Wildfire, the Caribou Fire Center, and as well as the Kamloops Fire Center to provide some information and updates with regards to the BC wildfires in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. We also have Telus on the line, and we also are expecting BC Hydro in attendance. So all these meetings are recorded. We will try to do our best to answer questions in the chat as much as possible, but we really encourage you to submit your questions prior to the meeting on our TNRD question page on our website. Without further ado, I will hand it over to the Caribou Fire Center. I want to say for our presenters, when you start your update, if you could say your name and your area or your agency, that would be great. So without further ado, handing it over to Caribou Fire Center.
Thank you. My name is Jessica Mack. I'm a fire information officer for the Northeast Complex, which encompasses the Flat Lake Fire and the Young Lake Fire. So I'm just going to share the perimeter map here of the Flat Lake Fire. So for this northeastern corner over here, so in this particular corner yesterday, we did see a little bit of increased activity. This perimeter here is a little bit old. So it does go kind of all up into here is the kind of new perimeter. And so yesterday we did have north to northwesterly winds, which were kind of pushing it in this direction here. And so we did have aircraft that were in that area cooling hotspots just to kind of dampen the fire behavior there. Today, we have heavy equipment that are utilizing Valentine Lake to tie into some pre-existing roads that are kind of along here. We have firefighters that are working in that area behind heavy equipment, and they are doing mop-up operations up to about 20 feet, just extinguishing any hotspots that they find in that area. Down here, a little bit further south on this eastern flank, we do have personnel that are working in this area as well. And again, they're just doing mop-up operations up to about 100 feet along the fire perimeter. And we did have an aerial scan the other night that we're utilizing to prioritize hotspots, especially in and around properties within that area. So I'll just move over to the northern flank. So yesterday we did see some increased activity here. The fire kind of was pushing itself down here again due to those winds. We did have aircraft that were working in that area to, again, cool hotspots just to kind of decrease that fire behavior. And today we do have heavy equipment that are working kind of from this area and going as tight as they can along the fire perimeter here just to establish a new control line. We again have firefighters that are working behind them and conducting mop-up operations. We also have some other firefighters that are working along this area here. We have established a control line along this flank right here, and firefighters are again doing mop-up operations. On this most northwestern flank over here, we did complete a successful planned ignition along here. So right here is Dog Creek Road. And so up until about right here is where we were able to, the planned ignition, it went really, really well due to the favorable winds kind of pushed the fire, the planned ignition back into itself here. So things were looking really well. It did not cross the Dog Creek Road. I will just show some photos here and just let me know if these do show up. I think those are all good, but This is the Dog Creek Road. This was during the planned ignition. This was a little bit after, as you can see it, it definitely cooled down there.
Jess, I'm not
And
seeing
then
those photos
as
on
of
my
this,
end.
Yeah, I don't think we can see the photos there, Jessica.
Yeah, we're still on the map there.
sorry about that. I will just stop sharing and then reshare. Apologies. So here's that first photo. So as you can see, this is the Dog Creek Road. You can see that they do have some hose lay that is established. So that's just used to cool down any hot spots as required. They did utilize both hand and aerial ignition. So they started with they started with hand ignitions along this road, and then more to the interior near the actual previous fire perimeter. They did do some aerial ignition. So they used these ping pong balls that drop from the helicopter, and then they ignite along a line that's predetermined by the staff that are in the helicopter. I'm just going to share the next photo here. This is a little bit after the previous one was kind of as the ignitions first started. This was maybe an hour or two after. As you can see, the control line worked really well. And then I will just show a photo from today that really shows how successful it was. And so here is an aerial shot. This line here near the lakes, that's the Dog Creek Road. And so things are looking really good on that planned ignition there. And I'll just go back to the map here. And so again, I'll move a little bit further south. So in this area, we haven't really seen much fire activity. Things have been pretty quiet. And then just for an updated size of this, the new size is 73,779 hectares. And we do have 193 firefighters on this incident now, and about 68 pieces of heavy equipment, and 15 helicopters and 5 structural protection personnel that are shared throughout the Northeast complex. I don't have the map for the Young Lake fire, but things have been looking really good on there. As I mentioned before, we did get a lot of precipitation from a couple of days ago that have definitely dampened fire behavior. Only a few smokes are being seen well within the perimeter of the fire. And today we'll do another aerial assessment, but we don't have any firefighters that are on the ground of that today. And so I'll leave it at that, and I'll give it back to the TNRD.
Great, thank you so much for that update. I'm going to pass it on now to the Kamloops Fire Center. We'll start with the Sparks Lake Complex.
Hi there, thank you. This is Erin Bull. I'm the information officer for the Sparks Lake Complex. So that includes the Sparks Lake wildfire and the Tremont Creek wildfire. So I'll just pull up my screen here. There it is. Okay, so things have been certainly more quiet on both these fires over the last couple of days since we did receive that rain a number of days ago. We've just benefited from the cooler temperatures and the higher humidities than we had experienced previously. So there hasn't been much change on either of the fires really, but we'll start here with the Sparks Lake fire. So the majority of activity continues to be along the north flank here. So previously I had spoken about some escapes that had jumped the guard in this area along the High Hume Forest Service Road. So we have had crews and equipment working in that area for a number of days, and things are looking really well there. I believe they've gotten guards around the escapes there and are continuing to work in that area, but we don't have much concern at this time, so we're making really good progress there. There was an evacuation order in place for kind of the High Hume area, which has changed to an alert because we are seeing some decreased activity over there. Also in the Vedette Lake area, similar operations continuing there. We have crews engaged in direct attack. Heavy equipment is assisting as well. And when they're needing helicopter support, that is available. So there might not be helicopters there every day, but they have been supporting in that area. And the head of our fire continues to be on this northeastern flank here. So this little pocket there is where the fire did move over the Jameson FSR. That happened a number of days ago. And we have had crews and heavy equipment working in there for a few days. So similar conditions over there, low fire behavior. They've been having good success in direct attack and working to put a fire guard around this area. So you're doing a fairly tight guard around here, and crews, heavy equipment is working to put a larger guard around this northeastern flank. So yeah, again, there certainly is still fire activity. Still a fair amount of smoke coming from the area, but it's a low intensity fire, and we're just really taking advantage of these days where we're having less fire activity, and we have the opportunity to engage in more direct attack. There are a number of lakes in the Bonaparte Park here that do have some structures on them. So quite a few of them do have structure protection already installed there. And so our crews are maintaining that and keeping an eye on things in the park there. So that's all we really have for Sparks. So we'll move on over to Tremont. So I guess we'll start in the Logan Lake area here. So the Logan Lake district rescinded their evacuation order today at noon. It is an alert. So following the planned ignitions that occurred on both the west and east sides of Logan Lake, things are looking really good in there. Again, there still is some smoke from some spots in there, but we have had crews engaged in mop up for a number of days, and they're continuing to do that. Any smoke that we're seeing is well within kind of the burnt area already. So things are looking really good there. We still have crews working between Cherry Creek and the fires. So they have completed a fire guard on this northeast flank here. So that was more of a contingency line that was a little ways away from the fire, and now they're working on what we call a tight line. So they're working with crews and heavy equipment much closer up to the fire here. We actually have air tankers on site right now, and so they're helping to bolster that guard by dropping retardant all around this tip. We have had crews into the Dominic and Dairy Lakes in recent days. They're working on structure protection, and crews are engaged in direct attack along the Tranquille Lake Road here, moving towards Duffy Lake. So similar conditions there, perhaps a bit more active than we're seeing on Sparks, but compared to what we were seeing a few days ago or over the last weekend, fire activity is decreased. So we're able to engage in a lot more direct attack here as well. Our focus is mostly on this eastern flank here. Yeah, so crews engaged in direct attack, fire guards are going in, and heavy equipment is also doing some more tighter guards up closer to the fire. There has been some decreases in size on both these fires from a few days ago. So the Tremont fire is 62,523 hectares, and that's just a result of more accurate mapping that we've been able to get in the last few days with that decreased fire activity. The Sparks Lake fire is now at 93,553 hectares. So now that we have more of an opportunity, our personnel are able to get some better tracks of these fires. So that accounts for the decrease in size. And I'd say that's most of the updates there. So we'll pass it back to the TNRD. Thanks.
Thanks, Erin. We are getting some questions in the chat with regards to specific areas. So what we'll do is we'll get through the BC wildfire updates, and then we can address any specific questions for BC wildfire after the updates. So I'm going to actually pass it on to the White Rock Lake fire, please.
Sure. Hannah Swift here. I'm the fire information officer on the White Rock Lake wildfire. So I'll go ahead and share the fire perimeter here as well. So this is the most up-to-date fire perimeter that we have at this point. It is estimated, since we had those substantial winds and the cold front come through on Sunday evening on August 15th. The growth that we've reported and estimated has been approximately 15,000 hectares due to that wind event. So we have it estimated right now at 81,139 hectares. Again, that might change. We're going to look at getting some scans done on this northern edge here because it's looking quite quiet. Similar theme to the other updates on the other fires, we are seeing much less fire activity than we had seen previously, and that's just a result of that rain. It actually just started raining in Vernon here again just now, so that's going to be positive for our firefighters who are working on kind of a direct attack in some of the areas where possible. But what we are seeing is that the fuels are drying out quite quickly. So each day it is getting drier and drier since we've received that rain on Monday, just with the drought conditions that we're seeing in this area. Fintry down on the southwest or southeast down here is probably one of the highest drought conditions in the province at this point. So we are seeing the most active fire behavior down there, as well as on this, what we're calling the northeastern corner up here. It's quite active in the Nashwedo drainage here, as well as in 6 Mile Creek area. So along this eastern flank here is really where we're focusing our aerial efforts. So we do have the heavy helicopters working in the Nashwedo Creek drainage, as well as in 6 Mile Creek, and then along West Side Road as required to support our crews in there. We do have our helicopter coordinator out there, eyes in the sky all the time, directing the helicopters and letting them know where there's flare-ups and where they can best support the crews. So just go back up to the north flank here, this finger. So we haven't seen any growth along this area, actually in all of branch 1. So anything north of this line that you see here, slicing the fire in the middle there, there's been no growth observed on that northern edge. So things are looking really good. We have crews continuing to just mop up and tightline all along this finger up here. So again, no growth north of 97, and then down here, they're able to get in and do some direct attack, apply water directly to the fire's edge in that area as well as down in here. So moving over to this northeast area here, where we are seeing that active fire behavior, we had heavy equipment continuing to work. So they've actually put a machine line in up along Irish Creek here, and then they're going to work in across here to tie in down this way. So that was the best route that we could find that would be an effective containment line. So that's just about done now. Heavy equipment's just finishing up some work there, just making sure that there's no overstory on those containment lines, so that if any kind of fire behavior acts up, it won't get into the crowns of the trees in those areas. So down along West Side Road here, we do have our structure protection personnel and our wildland firefighters working in the interface in those areas. So they're working right down in those communities, and they're patrolling and extinguishing any hotspots that might remain. The fire is burning incredibly deep just due to those drought conditions. So it's really important that, you know, we do a very, very thorough patrol and dig up any kind of hotspots that might be remaining there. With those drought conditions, what we're seeing is, you know, entire tree root systems burn up. So it continues to burn really deep in the ground. So it does take, you know, a lot of water and a lot of exposure to get those fires to a full extinguishment in those areas. So we do still have structure protection working in there as well. The priority, as always, is to protect homes. So to ensure there's no further impacts to those communities, we do still have some structure protection in place. But again, they are also assessing to see where that can be removed and used elsewhere at this point. As I said, it was quite active down on this southeast corner here. There was a flare-up yesterday, and there was actually a spot fire just north of Fintry Park. It was 1 hectare in size by the time they were able to get wrapped around it and get it under control. So as I said, the drought conditions are quite extreme. So we are seeing that rapid growth already, even after that slight reprieve from the rain that we got. So we did have the heavies working there yesterday, assisting the ground crews, just bucketing on that spot fire that we had down there. Along the west flank here, south and west flank here, again, no growth west of this branch break here. So we haven't seen any growth there. We're continuing to patrol that with aerial resources and just make sure that it's staying calm out there. But again, what we're seeing is rank 1, rank 2 fire behavior. So it's in this area, it's just smoldering within the fire perimeter. But again, monitoring it and just making sure it's holding tight there. We do have the guard that goes from the south end of Chaperon Lake and through a network of old burns, as well as a network of Forest Service roads. We do have it moves across and then ties into Fintry over here, just in this area. But just south of the fire perimeter here, we are working on another containment line with heavy machinery just to tight line it in there and wrap around. And we do have a control line just where this division break is as well. And so we'll be tying it into there and trying to get a little bit tighter into the fire perimeter in that area. So after that rain that we had on Monday, there were a number of rescinds and downgrades of evacuation alerts and orders. So a lot of people were able to get back to their homes. And that was from a number of regional districts, and regional districts and local authorities. So just to check in with them, the most up-to-date information. And then yesterday we had an expansion of our area restriction order area. So as you can see here, the fire perimeter isn't shown on this map, but the fire perimeter is within, for the most part, this perimeter of area restriction order. And it's really in place for our firefighters and our first responders who are actively still working in there. And so if you're on alert, you are still allowed to return to your home if it's been downgraded from an order to an alert. This area restriction order only applies to Crown land, but you're allowed to enter that Crown land if you're using it to get to your principal residence. So people who live in that area are still able to return. As many are aware, the government of BC is asking that people refrain from visiting wildfire impacted areas unless it's for an essential reason. And wildfire impacted areas just means anywhere under an evacuation alert or order. So again, this is in place, and just realize that it's for the safety of our firefighters and to ensure that if things do change, which they could quite quickly as things do dry up again, and if there's any change in alerts and orders, that we're able to keep those roadways clear and people are able to evacuate safely. So that's all I have for White Rock Lake, and I'll just pass it back to TNRD there.
Thanks, Hannah. So next up, we've got the Litton complex.
Hello. Yes, I'll start with, so within the Litton complex, we have the Mckay fire, the Litton Creek, Mohawcum Creek, and George Road. I will start in the north. And find the right one. Sorry, there we go. Okay, apparently we're going to start, sorry, I apologize. We're going to start with the Litton Creek. The map is being tricky on which one wants to come up. So we'll start in the middle. We've had pretty quiet fire behavior since the weekend, as with across the area. The extreme fire behavior we saw on Saturday and Sunday, the rain that followed slowed things down, and we've been able to assess what's happened since that wind event and prioritize where we need to concentrate our efforts. So the south eastern edge is where it took a run. We had fire guard in place trying to maintain that fire below Highway 8, but in that wind event, it was pushed across Highway 8 towards 97C. So we've been able to get crews on the ground. We have heavy machinery establishing tight line guards along the southern edge. So we've got heavy machinery crews as well as support from the Lower Nicola band with crews coming in from Highway 8. So coming from both sides of that fire and along the eastern edge to tie that in. There hasn't been a lot of activity over the last few days. We did have a few hot spots pop up as things warmed up and dried out yesterday, but helicopters were on site bucketing. They're also working to secure this northern edge of the fire as well. So those are the priorities. Structural protection has been going in this area, as well as assessments along 97C. So the most eastern point here was pushed approximately 3 kilometers from 97C, but it has been held there. So structural protection going on here. Definitely a lot of crews on the ground, heavy machinery, helicopters bucketing, really to tie up this end and keep it from moving any further. The other section along here, so below Litton, helicopters bucketing out any hot spots, and crews have been working to establish some lines between the George Road fire and the Litton fire to protect the communities along the Highway 1 corridor. At the north end, not a lot of activity, but we have had crews, helicopters bucketing. We had a ground crew in around this area managing some pop-ups with the heat yesterday. But otherwise, we've seen very little activity. And we have been getting some rain in this area today. So we were expecting some warm, dry weather to continue today, but have seen some rain come in, which is a positive for that fire. Now, sorry, my maps seem to be hiding. I had to pop onto somebody else's computer and it's being temperamental. The Mckay fire in the north. I'll try to pull up a map here as I'm talking, but I'll start to give you an update. The Mckay fire to the north has had very little activity on it. We continue to work with the crews along the southern edge along Highway 40, working with communities there. I apologize. Definitely some fantastic work by communities on fire smarting and preparedness. It's been a very positive interaction, and we're seeing the fire, not a lot of activity other than up in just above Highway 40. There's been a little bit of activity there. We had helicopters bucketing, crews continuing to mop up along Apple Springs area to ensure that there's nothing remaining there to affect the communities. Okay, I have it now. So a little bit of activity popping up here yesterday on the southwestern side in Fred Antoine Park. So we did have helicopters bucketing along there and mop up along the Apple Springs area. Guard work is taking place with heavy machinery to keep this southern edge from extending further down towards the Fraser. We've had a little bit of hot spots up in this area, but otherwise not a lot of activity and not a lot of fire growth at all. In fact, we haven't had any significant fire growth across any of the fires within the Litton complex. Moving down, we did kind of talk about George Road a little bit already because it's part of the Litton complex. It's just at the bottom. So we've been establishing guards above the communities here to try to keep the fire from coming over the ridge, protecting the communities down here along Highway 1, also along the southern edge, to keep that fire from spreading further up. So between this whole area, between the Litton Creek and the George Road fire, definitely trying to maintain that western edge of the fire through fire guards and active suppression and helicopter bucketing. And the last but not least, in the Litton complex, we also have the Mohawken Creek, which has shown very little activity over the last few days. And we've been working with the Kanaka Bar band in establishing a guard down on the southwestern side, down in here, to prevent further spread and bucketing any hotspots that pop up. But there's been very little activity on the Mohawken Creek fire at this time. The fire perimeters at this time, Litton Creek is 84,327 hectares. Mckay is 41,688. George Road is 2,913, and Mohawken is 4,718. As with the other complexes and other fires, we've been able to take time to do some more accurate mapping over the last little while. So that's why some of the numbers have shifted, but we haven't on the ground seen any significant fire growth. And I'll turn it back over to TNRD.
Thanks so much. I'm actually going to address, we've got a couple questions with regards to the lower Nicola area. So I'm wondering if from BC Wildfire's perspective, you can speak directly to that question with regards to the fire that's affecting that community, that's bordering that community. That's the Litton complex. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so as I was pointing out, sorry about taking a while to get the map up, but the efforts are really focused on that southern area, so that southern and eastern tip, putting in those guards and really wanting to tie off that guard along the southern edge of the fire, so that we can have more confidence not to have fire spread further to the south. The weather is definitely helping. So based on fire predictions, weather, and the work that's taking place, BC Wildfire is providing recommendations for the regional district to then address any changes to the evacuation orders and alerts.
Great, thanks so much. And we're actually just getting a question. Can you state your name?
Yes, sorry, I'm Shelley Bird. I'm fire information with the Litton complex.
Thanks, Shelley. Okay, so we're just going to continue on now with BC Wildfire, the July Mountain fire update.
Yeah, for sure. Hello, my name is Shaylee Stearns, and I'm a fire information officer at the Kamloops Fire Center. So for the July Mountain Fire, the fire is currently estimated at 20,860 hectares. As of today, this fire is now being managed by an incident management team, or an IMT, as we sometimes will refer to it. So this means that for this fire, after today, they'll be able to offer a more detailed update on both the objectives of the day and just all the information to do with this fire. So today I don't have a map to supply, but in the coming days, we might be able to get more of that insight into what's actually happening on the ground, as we'll have an information officer who has more of a routine connection with the operations that is occurring. So as of right now, we currently have 25 personnel in the fire. That number will be subject to change with the IMT coming in and seeing where they need more or less resources on the fire. There's also support from helicopters today, as well as pieces of heavy equipment. So like I said, that transition is happening today with the IMT. So we should be able to offer more in-depth information on specific parts of the fire as well in the next coming days. So I would really recommend to people to keep an eye on our Wildfires of Note page for those updates to change with the July Mountain one, as well as the next public meeting as well. We might be able to offer a bit more in-depth details for it. And that's really all the newer updates that I have for it as that transition is taking place.
All right, thanks, Shaylee. Did I miss anybody else from BC Wildfire? Okay, we do have some specific questions we'll get through here. We're just wondering, we have a question in the chat around the fire at Sunshine Valley West for BC Wildfire. As well, with some of these specific questions we're getting in the chat, like Shaylee mentioned, the Fires of Note page as well is a really great resource on the BC Wildfire website for anyone wondering around specific fires. For the Sunshine Valley West, also, I believe, I don't know if BC Wildfire, you want to mention contact if they're wondering around fire progression in certain areas as well, that they can reach out, the public can reach out as well specifically. We're also getting a question around Prospect Creek FSR, the fire progression around there. So if we don't have an update as of right now, for the public, referencing the Fire of Note page on the BC Wildfire website, as well as reaching out to BC Wildfire, there is resources there as well. So I don't know if BC Wildfire, you want to comment on any of those areas? Okay. All right, so I'm just going through the chat a little bit more here. Okay. Okay, so it looks like there's general questions to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District being added. So what we'll do, I'm just reading through the chat, and then I'm just going to see if there's any other questions for BC Wildfire, and then we can let them go if not. Okay.
I can quickly jump in and just answer like a couple questions I remember that was in place about how we recommend alerts and orders. I know that was covered if you would like. Okay, that sounds good. And I did just see a question. There is an IMT already in place for the Litton Creek complex. That was Shelley that hopped on. So she's part of that incident management team for that area. But so when an order or alert is already put in place, the BC Wildfire Service makes those recommendations for those orders or alerts to be put in by the local authorities. And then once those are already in place, the alert or order status is continuously reassessed on a daily basis. So we're always monitoring and reassessing the area that we've put in or recommended there be an alert or an order. So this could be, these decisions are susceptible to weather in the area or the fire activity, and what might be coming in the upcoming days as well can definitely impact those decisions. So those are just a few of the aspects that will influence when we make those recommendations for alerts or orders. And then once those are put in place, we will assess the risk for that area. And then once we determine that there is no longer a risk, either we will downgrade or recommend, to downgrade the order to an alert, or an alert to an all clear with the local authorities of that area. And that's essentially the process that we follow for it, but we are constantly assessing on a daily basis to see if that area no longer has a high risk to it, or if we can recommend those orders or alerts being downgraded.
Great, thanks so much for that. We just have a question in the chat with regards to the Brook Creek fire for BC Wildfire.
Hi, sorry about that. I was just quickly double checking. But the Brook Creek fire, so that was, it did originally start near the July Mountain fire. So it has now been a part of that fire. The fire perimeters are the same and whatnot now. So it's no longer its own fire. All the updates for that one will be with the July Mountain, essentially. It's within that fire now.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, so I think we've addressed all of the questions in the chat that BC Wildfire can enlighten us on. So what I'm going to do is let them go back to their busy days, and we'll continue on with our presenters. And then after we're done presenting from BC Hydro and Telus, I'll be able to speak to some of the questions directed to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District in the chat. So thanks so much, BC Wildfire, for your time today. I will let you go unless you have any additional comments. Again, for the public on this call, ensuring that you're referencing the Fire of Note page for BC Wildfire. There's also contact information on their website. After this meeting today, it's recorded, and we'll also be posting the contact information for BC Wildfire on the YouTube video. Okay, so without further ado, next up we have BC Hydro to provide an update from their agency.
Hi folks, my name is Marianne Cools and I'm with BC Hydro Community Relations. I'd like to start by saying that our hearts are with the residents and communities that have been impacted by the wildfires, and we have and will continue to do everything we can to assist with the recovery process. I'm just going to run through the list of communities where we are working right now. So there are 42 customers right now without power on the Highway 8 corridor. We do have crews on site with BC Wildfire Service to assess the damage. Our preliminary assessment has found that there is significant damage and over 50 power poles will need to be replaced. Moving over to the Litton area, there were 32 customers out between Litton and Spence's Bridge due to the mudslide, and those customers were restored yesterday evening. South of Litton, we're continuing to work with BC Wildfire Service to improve safety for fire crews along Highway 1. And as safety permits, we are grubbing around structures. At the Savannah Mountain Repeater site, we are currently on site to do tree assessments, falling, and preliminary excavation work for structure replacements. We have 5 customers in this area that are without power, and we will begin rebuilding on site once the hazard trees have been removed. In Logan Lake, we have approximately 20 structures that need to be assessed. There are 36 customers that remain without power in this area, and we are currently waiting for it to be safe to access the other areas around Logan Lake in order to restore power to these customers. In Monty Creek, we are on site cleaning up some debris that's left over from the fire, but there is no impact to our customers in this area. On the Coquihalla Highway, we are actively on site and have completed most of our damage assessment. There are 25 structures that will need to be replaced on the main backbone of the highway, and an additional 50 to 75 structures have been damaged. We are doing tree falling today, and we are bringing in crews from both the Lower Mainland and the interior to work on this infrastructure. But we expect that restoration is still a couple of days out, probably 4 to 5 days at this point. And we have 94 customers without power in this area. In the West Side Road area, we had 650 more customers restored yesterday, and we are working to restore the remaining 948 customers that are still without power. Just to note, all of these customers are currently on evacuation order. So the way that we will work through this area is we will restore customers on West Side Road first, and then move into the subdivisions to complete restorations. And that's it from me.
Great, thanks so much. It doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat for BC Hydro, so thank you so much for attending today, and you're free to go on to your busy day.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Telus on the line to provide an update as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Melanie from Telus. Again, we sympathize with everybody and for everything that they're going through in this very hard time. So I'll begin with Litton. So as we know, with the fire that went through Litton, we have been able to go in and replace our fiber service that went along the highway, and that was done a few weeks back. It was completed. We did in that fire lose our central office that was located right in the town of Litton, and that actually is the service that provides all of the intricate pieces that provide the dial tone and the numbers and everything, the switches that provide the services to the individuals in our homes. So that service reached out towards the Boutain Valley. It came back towards Boothroyd and all the way down towards Shaw Springs and towards Nikamin. So outside of Litton, those are the areas, and it will be quite a while before we're going to be able to restore services when we're dealing with landline, et cetera, for those homes until we can get that central office rebuilt inside Litton. I know that Litton is working with us to try and gain access as quickly as we can to get on the ground there to get that done. Within that area of Gladwin, we have been able to get the fiber, of course, restored to that second cell tower there. And the only piece that we've been waiting for and working on is the power to that cell tower. And we're right in those final stages now. So we should be able to see that cell tower come up relatively quickly, and meaning hopefully within the next few days. The second piece that I can report on, which is the second, probably the biggest outages that we have at present, is going to be Spence's Bridge. That outage occurred this week when we lost due to fire along Highway 8. And it took down the cell tower there, and of course the outage as well within Spence's Bridge, again caused by the burning of the fiber cable. We were able to bring in the smaller cellular on wheels device we have, which is called the CAF. It provides a very limited amount of bandwidth. And by limited, I really truly mean limited. It's good for cellular. It's more meant to be delivered into like an emergency services situation. So not really meant for a lot of people to be using all at the same time. So limited bandwidth, good for texting, things like that. If you're very close to the tower, small conversations, but you may find that it may be dropping calls and such. So texting really is more so what you're going to be able to use it for. It has a radius of about 1 kilometer, possibly 2 sometimes, but again, more for emergency services. That was available in, and it's been placed at the same location that the cell tower was in Spence's Bridge, and that is there now. Unfortunately, we weren't able to place that down the valley towards Nikamin, and it's basically just because of the area of the valley and just how steep the sides of the valley walls are. Whereas in Spence's Bridge, it uses a satellite signal. So in Spence's Bridge, we've got quite a broad, flat valley there. So the satellite signal was much stronger there. So we were able to get our team into Highway 8 today to get in and do some assessments there. So we're hoping to have a better understanding of just how much cable we're going to be replacing along Highway 8. And as soon as we can get in there, hopefully within this week, we get that cable up, then we're going to see restoration come into not only that cell tower in Spence's Bridge, but also to the homes there as well. And that would be the update that I have for everyone. I give it back to you, to the TNRD.
Thanks so much for that update. We really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming. Feel free to stay on the line, but I know your days are very busy, so feel free to sign off as well. Okay, so thanks so much for everybody today. I'm going to continue on to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's EOC update. Again, my name is Priscilla Kazarian. I'm the acting information officer at this time with the TNRD. So there have been some questions in the chat that I can definitely address from the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's perspective. Before I look at, before I read the question out and provide you some insight. I do see some questions with regards to specific areas of fire progression. So what I would highly suggest for everybody on the line today is to go on to the BC Wildfire Fires of Note page to look at the specific fire questions on the Fires of Note page, as well as they have an interactive dashboard. And they also have contact lines on their BC Wildfire page. So you are able to reach out to BC Wildfire directly if you're wondering about specific areas that we maybe didn't get to today or you think of after the fact. So please feel free to do that as well. So we are getting a lot of questions, whether it be in the chat, through Facebook, or calling into our EOC with regards to the Lower Nicola area. So as Shelley definitely let us know today, and I know we have some latecomers in the chat as well. So the Litton complex with Shelley Bird, she gave us an update that there's definitely progression going on with regards to the fire in that area. So how it essentially works is that BC Wildfire are on the ground and we're in constant communication. The regional district, Thompson-Nicola Regional District, we're in constant communication with BC Wildfire. So at the time when we downgrade an order to an alert, the recommendation comes from BC Wildfire. So at this time, they're absolutely making really great progress. The weather is absolutely helping, and we're in constant communication daily, more than daily, with BC Wildfire, and absolutely for that area as well. So at the time we are given that recommendation from BC Wildfire to downgrade the order, we absolutely will do so. But at this time, at this very moment, it's still on order. So what I would suggest for you, the residents of Lower Nicola, please reference our TNRD interactive dashboard, which I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a moment, as well as registering for our Voyant Alert system, joining our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and also our press releases. We share out all this information on these channels. So at the time we're able to downgrade the order to alert on recommendation from BC Wildfire, this is where we share all this information out. So I highly suggest you tune into those channels, whichever one you feel more fluent in, and I encourage you to watch that. We really sympathize for everyone, absolutely for everyone going through the current emergency situation in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District and BC as a whole. And we're working very hard to get as many people back into their homes as possible. So as of right now, so I have a question in the chat. We have heard maybe Saturday to an alert. Any word on that? So as of right now, so how the orders and alerts work, we don't actually put a lifting date on the orders and alerts, because it's, again, fire activity is sometimes unpredictable as well with weather. So I'm not 100% where the Saturday is coming from. It may be that the state of local emergency has that date on it, and normally what happens with the state of local emergency document is that there's a date and then it's reviewed and renewed if possible. So that may be where the Saturday date is coming from, but I'm not 100%. So let's just stick with the information that BC Wildfire and the Thompson-Nicola Regional District are in constant communication with regards to firefighting efforts and how safe it is for residents to be at their homes, and we're looking at this more than a daily basis. We absolutely know the Lower Nicola or anybody on order absolutely wants to go home. So we're in communication about this, and we're hoping we'll have some good news that we can downgrade the order to alert in the coming days. But as of right now, I can't provide you a date, as you know, there's still progression on the fire front, as you heard from Shelley today. And if you're late, that was the information. So again, signing on to the BC Wildfire page, and looking at the fires of note, the interactive dashboard, using the resources, and tuning into these public information meetings. However, they're also posted on our YouTube page. We shared it on Facebook and Twitter. So we're using all these channels to communicate with you. If you are looking to have a question answered, we have our EOC line as well. You can call us. We have an email, emergency@tnrd.ca. We're also monitoring our Facebook chat. We do see your tweets. We're absolutely, we know we can see the questions that you're asking. If you have a question for one of the agencies that tune into these meetings, you can submit your questions through the TNRD public question form, which is on our website, and we post it every time we post these meetings. So I hope that was a little bit helpful for those on today. And I'll continue on. I believe there were a couple other questions that I can address before I move on to my my interactive dashboard. So there was a question with regards to getting in contact with specific BC Wildfire staff. So again, what I would suggest, we do post the contact information once we post these recorded YouTube videos, but you can also sign on to or go to the BC Wildfire website, and there's contact there as well. So I had a question in the chat as well around the Logan Lake order that went on to alert today. So I'll share my screen here. I think this is the right one. Okay, so if you haven't been here, this is our TNRD interactive dashboard. I was looking at Brook Creek, as you can see. You can search addresses here, as well as you can zoom into each fire to see the orders in the alert areas. So orders are in red, alerts are in orange or yellow, orangey yellow. And so if you're interested in where the current orders and alerts are, you can see them there. So as you can see, I'm just actually going to go over to the White Rock Lake fire. We had some great news yesterday. We were able to downgrade to an all clear. We're sending down to an all clear in the perimeter here. So that's what the green is. It means all clear. Okay, and so I'm actually just going to go over to Logan Lake because we also had some changes to the order area in Logan Lake. So you can see here, north of Logan Lake is still on order. We did have a change in this area down to an alert. I believe it was last night or today or this morning, within the last 24 hours. There was a question in the chat on the Highway 97C. How residents are able to get there. As you can see, it's on alert. However, the highway is closed. So I was speaking with our EOC. We're in communication as we speak with Drive BC in order to get their website updated. But at this time, the highway, I believe it's, hold on, I have the name, 97D. This is the Drive BC interactive map for those of you who haven't seen this yet. You just go onto the Drive BC website and they have a map view. So I'm just going to zoom in here to answer the Logan Lake Highway question. So right now you can see this red triangle. It does say that the road is closed. However, at this time we're working with Drive BC to get this updated as this highway is open so that residents of Logan Lake are able to enter areas that are on alert. Now, please keep in mind, I'm actually just going to toggle, sorry if I'm clicking too fast, I'll just try and slow down here. Toggle back to our evacuation status dashboard. As you can see, the area north of Logan Lake is still on order, so please keep that in mind. However, this highway kind of from Lac Lejeune to Logan Lake, 97D is now open. It's just the Drive BC dashboard hasn't been open with that information, and we're currently working with them in order to get that information open or available. So I hope that answers that question. So again, I'm just going to continue on with our update here. So I went through our Logan Lake downgrade, so that was some good news, and some all clears over in White Rock Lake. We did also have a small downgrade with regards to the Young Lake fire. There is still an order in that area. However, it was downgraded. There was 3 properties downgraded to alert yesterday. So that's my update for the TNRD dashboard. Again, if you have any specific questions or are wondering the status of specific addresses, you can use the TNRD interactive dashboard in order to search addresses. Oh, I lost the chat here. There it is. Okay. There was a specific address that somebody asked in the chat here, Prospect Creek FSR. So unfortunately, the question was regards to fire progression near Prospect Creek FSR. However, I'll show you how to find an address. You just type it in here. I don't know the property number, but I'll click it. And so when you're able to find the property or the area in which you're looking for, you can then zoom to here. What's that little box that jumps up, and it will zoom in onto the area of the property. So you can see here it's on evacuation order still. I hope that's helpful. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and see if there's any other questions in the chat. There's questions with regards to clearing orders to alert in areas of current wildfire. So again, the Thompson-Nicola Regional District takes recommendations from BC Wildfire. So what I would suggest for those of you wanting to keep updated on fire progression and how the weather is affecting that, highly suggesting going on to the BC Fires of Note page, because that is updated as frequently as possible. Is there a specific time that the updates from the TNRD and BC Fire are available? Is there a specific time that the updates from the TNRD and BC Fire are available? So with regards to updates from TNRD and BC Fire, so again, we are holding these public information meetings as frequently as possible. So they range from every 2 to 3 days. Our next meeting will likely be either Saturday or Sunday so that we're able to update the public as much as possible. BC Wildfire is in constant communication with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. They are attending every meeting as well. So if you're wondering if you have any specific questions for BC Wildfire before these meetings that you can prepare and send in, please do so. It's on the public information question form. So I highly suggest that you do that. I just want to, there's one more question here. Has there been structural loss at Murray Lake in the July mountain fire? So with regards to structure loss, what essentially happens when we're the Thompson-Nicola Regional Districts, given the okay that it's safe to enter the area, we do try as much as possible to do rapid damage assessments for structure loss. If you're wondering around structure loss, please feel free to contact our Emergency Operations Center or email us at emergency@tnrd.ca. We can give you a general information on what we have if we have any information with regards to the area, but it's easier for you to reach out to us as it's a little bit hard to track everybody down when we have the information for structural loss. So if you're wondering, please feel free to reach out to us and we can provide as much information as possible. But when we do our damage assessments, we are reaching out to residents in order to provide information. So please reach out and we can look into the specific property that you're looking for. As of right now, I can't comment on whether there was structural loss or not, as I don't have the information with me right now. However, please reach out and we can look into that for you. Okay, so I just want to continue on. I don't think there's any other questions in the chat. If we've missed anything, please feel free to reach out to us. So just a reminder about our Thompson-Nicola Regional District's Resiliency Center. That's available either by phone, email, and there's also a physical location on the North Shore on Tranquille Road. You can give us a call and we can provide that information to you, or please log on to our website. All the information that we're talking about can be accessible through our website. So if you go onto our Thompson-Nicola Regional District website, our Resiliency Center information is available on there. We also have resources for returning residents that can be found on the Thompson-Nicola Regional District website. This is information with regards to safety when returning back to your property. if a fire has impacted you, or if you have experienced structural loss. Our sincere sympathies, and there is information through our returning residents resources on our Thompson-Nicola Regional District website that can be in regards to disposal or the way forward, essentially. So if you have experienced structural loss, please contact our Resiliency and Recovery Center, which is available in our Thompson-Nicola Regional District, the contact information, because they can absolutely help you of where to go next. But our returning residents, and you can find that information on our website. So our EOC operates 7 days a week. Hours are approximately 8:30 to 8, but this is subject to change based off what's going on in that day. We want to thank all residents that signed up for our Voyant Alert system. We've had some really good uptake on that, and definitely it's becoming more and more used. So please continue using that. Visit our Facebook page, our Twitter. Our intention is to ensure you have as much information as possible at all times, and we will be holding these meetings every few days to ensure that this information is available to you in a timely manner. This session is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube page. Please continue to use the question form on the Thompson-Nicola Regional District website. It's very helpful having the questions to provide to BC Wildfire before the meeting begins. So for any road closures, please visit the Drive BC website, as it's definitely updated on a regular basis, as things are definitely in a moving state. Reaching out for any clarification is absolutely welcome. But using the Drive BC website and their map is definitely the best way to look for road closures and which roads are closed and conditions. So all further information will continue to be provided, like I mentioned before, through the website, our social media, radio, news outlets, as well as the TNRD Voyant Alert system. So I think I've addressed all the questions in the chat. We're about 6 minutes over our hour, but I hope this information session was provide information for everybody, and I really hope everyone's staying safe out there and taking care. And we really sympathize for everybody who's experiencing the impacts of this time. So really stay safe and take care out there. Thanks, everybody.